This is a transmission about some new energies and some new opportunities to support the bigger picture that are available for people. So I'm going to be speaking about this from the perspective of what's coming in today as I'm recording this, which is July 21st, 2021, in Pacific time. And what I want you to know is that everything that I'm describing and everything that I'm receiving about what's happening will remain relevant for probably years to come, for sure many months. The kind of the windows of time for some of these pieces of work that are available for us to do aren't 100% clear. But I would say, let's consider at least a couple of years of availability for this. Now, this transmission is very much focused on what you can do to help for humanity and for the planet, as opposed to often my transmissions are really about how you yourself can kind of have a different experience or shift or expand or in your own evolutionary leap. So this is really about if you feel called in to a level of service energetically on some way, then this is really going to be for you, and you're going to find this really interesting and fun and delightful, and is accessible, I think, for really anyone who feels called in. And if you're here listening to it, then it'll be accessible for you to do these things, even if they sound like, I could never do something that big and gigantic. Like, you absolutely can. If you're here, you can. So first, I just want to say a little bit about I don't do a lot of, I don't experience a lot of intense energy around numbers the way many people do. So kind of numerology or what numbers mean, angelic numbers. I enjoy little bits of that, but it never feels it usually doesn't feel like a driving factor, if you will, in my mental models for experiencing things. But today is feeling very strongly like there's a sort of a sacred piece in the numerology of 7/21/21, which is, how we would write it in the U.S., although many parts of the world put the day before the month, and so it would be 21/7/21. And this, and 2 and 1 being, a 3 being a trinity, this imagery that's been coming in before I noticed that was the date is very much this sort of double trinity imagery. And then the 7 for me is really pulling in this 7-pointed Earthen star that is really core, really fundamental to the earth being. So I just want to celebrate that and hope that you're feeling some of that for yourself, and that if you're feeling some of that but you're not sure what to do with it, or you've been feeling kind of a sense of restlessness but not sure what that's about, it may be that this is calling you in, and that this transmission will help you kind of hone in on where is it that your energy wants attention to be focused today, and going forward. So we've talked in other transmissions about how to kind of release your own lower timelines and how to stay on higher timelines for yourself, or how to kind of put yourself onto higher timelines for yourself. We've done this in various different parts of my work, in various different containers, and and now we're talking about timelines in a broader sense, not just yours or mine, but kind of humanity's timeline, if you will. And so there are, of course, many timelines functioning at the same time, and sort of which one are you on is really, one of the fun, interesting on point ways to experience or understand your experience of reality. Not the only one, of course. And humanity has a number of let's say lower timelines, denser timelines, kind of less pleasant to experience for the people in them timelines that are ready now to be complete, and that are ready now to be dissolved and closed off, in the same way that in earlier transmissions we have begun doing that for ourselves, and then inviting, if you will, kind of the diamond fractal of self from the lower timelines to fully cleanse her or himself or themselves and pop up here and like join the beautiful fractal diamond of self within this current human bio experience. And so this is now possible at this more macro level for humanity, and it is incredibly useful if you can send love, light, energetic, golden support, intention to support that this occurs easily, with grace and ease for all of the beings on that timeline, that timeline is completed, that we remember our cosmic right to purity, that we bring all of the purity and grace and light that we have ever experienced or accessed in this and any lifetime down to these lower timelines to say, you are complete. You can let go. You can move out of this timeline and it will dissolve. And not to the specific beings, to the whole kind of collective of humanity, just to be clear, just to keep that forefront. And then the individual beings that are in those timelines will be making their own choices about where do they want to go next, right? Like our beings, our spirits, ourselves, however we think of it, makes choices about what do we want kind of for the next iteration of our experience to look like. And so some of them may want to pop up in here, into this higher timeline. Some of them may want to go into other places, other timelines. Some of them may want to return to source, like a million different, they can do whatever they can do, whatever they want to do is fine. And they are absolutely taken care of, no matter which direction they want to go, where they want to go with things. But closing these timelines is really useful because what it does is, now that it's available for that to happen for some of these, is that it creates a no turning back. It creates a kind of an energetic, we're crossing the Rubicon again, right? We're going to keep doing this. We're kind of keep crossing the Rubicon again and again, crossing this, going past this point of no return where we're on, a particular, we're on the highway going in a certain direction. And if you miss that exit, you can't go back to it, right? Which is good in these cases. We don't want to go back to those exits. We want them shut off. We want them closed. We want the river to keep refining itself from many, many different tributaries down into, one beautiful, giant, kind of highest light, highest good, highest grace timeline for the easiest, most robust evolution of humanity into Homo lumens, and the easiest, most robust evolution of the planet being as well. And we are now in a place, this wasn't always the case, but we are now in a place where humanity's Evo Leap and the planet's Evo Leap are intimately tied. And so the planet could keep doing her Evo Leap without humanity doing its. I want to be clear about that. And it's more delightful now to the planet and more, faster is not the right word because that is a time thing, but we'll just use it for shorthand. Faster if the Homo lumens shift occurs easily and quickly. That's going to be super boostful for the Earth as well. So I want to really encourage you to just really engage with this today in any way that feels good to you to do that. And this is not now just only today is the work for this. It's going to keep on going and this will keep happening. And so whatever time or day you're listening to this transmission is probably because it's a time for you to engage with some of this work. And when we think about our personal legacy in this life, in terms of, what's the legacy we want to leave behind, there are many different components of that. But one of the kind of the key sort of 7 areas of personal legacy related to Earth's Evo Leap that I teach on is this kind of the energetic impact, the energetic work, which is usually not seen by others in, kind of in 3D. It's usually kind of, done in quiet ways, It can be resource intensive, potentially on your biology, but usually in a way that nonetheless feels very delightful to have experienced, in the same way that being engaged in a really fun physical activity can make you tired afterwards, but boy, you're so glad that you did it and it feels really good. And kind of those sort of the little, sore muscle moments as you're stretching or whatever's going on just remind you of how fun it was to be doing that. So tapping into various different threads of things that have been, become available in recent months that are supporting where this transmission is coming at, and you can refer back to earlier messages from me on this, that cosmic right to purity that I mentioned, like, if you're not 100% tuned into that purity energy for yourself or able to access it quickly, just go pop into that. That's a really quick one. The founder codes being available, really good, really helpful. The kind of the starting information around accessing the original self and the whole cosmic self coming in through that. And some of that I'm going to be bringing a more robust, specific, kind of training process for you, for any of you, to access on your own around that integration of original and cosmic self into the human. So that'll be coming probably maybe in a month or so. So that's really what I want to be saying about this. And I also want to be saying that, let's see. So this raises a topic that is not comfortable for everyone, but I feel that it's okay to share it. So I think we will also start to see in August, September, into October, I think we're going to see more what is sometimes referred to as walk-ins. I don't care what terms we use, it doesn't really matter. And so what this is really about is basically, as people, as souls, as beings decide, okay, I don't want to come into this timeline, and I've got other things that I want to do for whatever reason, that soul can kind of now go without its body having to die, and another being who is ready, kind of like, okay, now the Earth evil leap is at a stage, or the human evil leap is at a stage where I'm kind of ready to be capped, to come in, to be supportive, to be helpful. And so those beings coming in are they're going to be fully resourced, and they're going to have some adjustment periods, I feel, but it'll be fairly brief, and then they will have kind of access already to all of what they know and be able to start bringing that in to support the humans that are here and the planet here, in this evolutionary timeline. And so I think we're going to be seeing a fair amount of that, like a kind of a wave of them. And I think I personally am feeling really excited and happy about that. I'm feeling like that's going to be a really big relief for some of the very exhausted souls who are ready for a different experience. And I think it's going to be really wonderful for the beings that are living now in, this experience on Earth, whether they're humans or the planet or other beings on the that are living on the planet that are non-human, to be able to have more support, right? To kind of like a stronger kind of, ground crew team, so to speak, or whatever language you like for it. And so I think that's going to be really fun and really useful in many different ways. And it's going to make things that you have been trying to do for yourself just start to become easier, right? Whatever that is, like the new creative project you're trying to get off the ground, the new entrepreneurial business you're trying to get off ground, the new way that you're trying to, influence what's happening in the world in some way where maybe there's been a lot of friction. Just more and more kind of help coming in means those things are going to be even easier to go. And if you've already been having the experience of things being, really easy and delightful, like, yeah, all the stuff's coming in, just like, how cool is it going to be for there to be even more of that, not just for you, but for everyone, and really start to, create a kind of snowball effect in our movement into a better situation for humans on the planet and all of the other sacred life forms on the planet that are so affected by what the humans on the planet are doing. So hopefully these pieces will be fun. You remember always to support your biology in all of this, and that the biology is really the key in many ways, and understanding that I love science. I love every edge of science, but at the same time, I do strongly feel that human science is more sort of like at the kind of the kindergarten, first grade level of 1 + 1 is 2. It's arithmetic, and some of this esoteric access to how things function or work, and everyone needs to access their own understanding of the nature of reality. I share mine. It's just one viewpoint. It is more like, okay, what's the calculus level, right? So, just hold it all loosely, bring it all in. And as always with these transmissions and any and everything that I ever share, in any form, to take what's useful and leave the rest without judgment. And please know that I love you, that I'm grateful for your light in the world, and that I'm delighted to be doing this work with you, for the planet, and for the beings on it. So stay in your luxuriously playful, sacred delight place. Stay in your devotion to what calls you in your highest places. This is that radical accountability that I talk about so often. It is that devotion to that highest, purest note within, if you will. And that is really that pathway upwards to increase your capacity for radical freedom. And thank you for doing this work for humanity so that humanity can also move into higher levels of capacity for radical freedom. Love you.